car is a tool for freedom, connection, and livelihood. A first car is more than that. Your first car is an invitation to explore, to find your own path, to try new things, and to make your own decisions. This 1997 Honda Accord with 263,000 miles was my first car, but she is known more affectionately as Haley. She has been with me for 13 years and over 100,000 miles. This car was a steadfast supporting character for my growth into adulthood. It was my tool for learning to drive, the transportation to my first job in high school, every summer job during college, and my first full-time professional job. It was the vessel for my camping trips, weekend getaways, and worldly explorations. It was my transit for the entirety of my possessions back and forth to college, and later across the whole country to start my career. It was the noble steed for whisking away my first date, my first girlfriend, my fiance, and eventually my wife. It was the test bed for my developing mechanical skills. I had many experiences behind the wheel of this car, whether it was blasting music to suit the mood of the day or keep me awake and entertained through hours and hours of driving, or enduring numerous heart-racing close calls due to teenage foolishness, bad split-second decisions, and harrowing road conditions, even enduring countless part failures and beater car problems, including a spontaneous disassembly of my front suspension while driving on the freeway, seeing how far the last quarter tank of gas can stretch, and sometimes actually running out of gas, sharing hours of heartfelt and introspective conversations, absurd existential questions, and goofy road trip games, being pulled over for various infractions, sleeping in every seat at least once, driving in every imaginable weather condition, sometimes without AC. I have truly lived a lifetime of automotive experiences with this car, and those memories will live on long after she does. I remember when my dad first bought this car. I was 11. I remember the smell of the cleaners and the air fresheners. I remember our first test drive. I remember sitting in the back of it as we drove it home for the first time. I spent many hours in that back seat and then eventually sitting shotgun until finally it was my turn to get in the driver's seat. At age 15, my very first time putting a car into gear was behind the wheel of this very Honda. I started doing laps with my dad around the parking lot of the middle school up the street from my house. And pretty soon, I was driving around in Georgia traffic, loving life. When I turned 16, this car became mine for the price of a few $1,000s, which was my biggest purchase to date. And a few weeks later, I started using it to commute to my first high school job. I did what most high school kids who are into cars do with their first car, which is to buy a cheap set of wheels, plasti dip everything chrome black, and put a better stereo in it. I have spent countless hours wrenching on this car over the last 13 years, and at this point, I think there's more parts I've replaced than ones I haven't. You gotta do what you gotta do to keep an old car running, but I've definitely learned a lot wrenching on this thing over the years. This car moved with me from Georgia to Texas for college, where the clear coat lost the battle to 4 years of hot Texas sun. Over those years, it hauled dozens of friends on weekend adventures and Walmart trips and late night runs to Waffle House and Whataburger. She also spent a summer with me in Wisconsin, and we saw every state between there and Texas. And we also survived numerous trips between Georgia and Texas during my college years. Eventually, I decided to call Nevada home, and we spent 3 days driving through 8 states to get from Georgia to Nevada, while towing a trailer with a motorcycle and a mountain bike on it. I'm pretty sure this car has more road trip miles than most cars have actual miles. For the next 5 years, she survived a daily commute of 100 miles with a nice 5 miles of unimproved gravel road as the cherry on top. She started to fall into disrepair after years of this, and I replaced just enough parts to keep her going. She's got a good few battle scars from a long, hard, unforgiving life, but she never really seems to complain. She still starts up every time and makes every trip we take easy and simple. I always trust her to get me where I need to go. This Accord happily served several months of daily driver duties for my then fiance, who had 2 cars in a row totaled by reckless drivers. And it even was so kind to us as to wait till the day we bought her a new car to have a part failure. Last summer, she was finally retired from daily driver duty to make way for a bigger and more reliable family hauler. And she finally got some well-deserved rest. Accords aren't just a part of my history either. They're a part of my whole family's history. The first car I remember riding with my dad was his 1991 4th Gen Accord. It was a coupe with a red cloth interior and automatic seatbelts. You know, the ones that would motorize their way up and down the A-pillar every time you open the door. And it had a 5-speed manual. Years later, he upgraded to a 5th Gen 1997 Accord that eventually became mine. His third Accord was a dark blue 7th Gen sedan with the V6, and I also went with him to buy that one. It's come and gone now, but it has stayed in the family, and it's probably going to be the last sedan he ever owns. Not only has my dad driven Accords my whole life, both of my brothers drove Accords for several years of my childhood. One drove a black 4th Gen coupe, and the other drove a white 4th Gen sedan. Even my sister-in-law had a gold 5th Gen sedan. I have memories riding in all 5 of these Accords as a kid. And there were definitely times when I was growing up that there were 3 Accords in my driveway at the same time. So there really was only one logical choice for my first car. I've heard from countless car people, boy, I wish I didn't get rid of my first car. Soon I'm going to be one of those people. Getting rid of a car isn't like getting a new microwave. I will think about this car and the memories I have made with it for decades to come, and the thought of it in a landfill breaks my heart. Maybe it's dumb to ascribe such importance to a mechanical object, but when you spend so many formative years and make so many memories with something, it's nearly impossible to not feel an attachment. I think finding human attributes in created objects and recognizing the traits given to those objects by people who created them is a part of what makes us human. Looking at a Renaissance painting may not be a moving experience for me, but put me in a 30-year-old Japanese automobile and let me turn that key, and my heartstrings will inevitably feel a little tug. As much as I want to keep this car forever for the sake of the good memories I have with it, I just can't justify holding on to it any longer. To admit it's time to let go is admitting that I'm not the 16-year-old going to his first job anymore. It's admitting that change is progress, and that the things that I need and the choices I make and the way I use my time now as a husband and a dad in my late 20s, they look a lot different than they did as a single teenager with the world in front of him. There's a part of me that wants to hold on forever and hope that more special moments can be made with that car with my kids when they get older. And maybe against all odds, that will happen someday. But for now, the burden of a machine without a purpose is heavier than the hope of future experiences. Letting go is hard. Admitting that the good times have come to an end and letting them end does not come easily. But saying a proper goodbye and finding joy in the memory of those good times softens the blow a little bit. There will always be a piece of this car in the driver I am today, and it only truly dies when I stop telling stories about our experiences together. And now a little piece of her lives with you too. Thanks for stopping by.
What do you have to say, John?
Hey, going over the dam.
Yeah. Colors look really weird on this. Hi! I'm a vlogger now! Look at that! Hey!
Congratulations.
We're in the car. We're about to drive across the dam, so I wanted to make sure the video worked.
Peace.
We're on a gigantic dam!
What?